Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review Hard Truths. This is the new film from Mike Leigh, who is one of our great filmmakers, I think. I recently watched Naked, and I was just marveling at his pen game. His direction of actors is incredible, and his latest stars Marion Jean-Baptiste, who you may recognize from Secrets and Lies. She was nominated for her supporting role in that film, which she was amazing in. She's a lead here, and she plays an absolutely hot-headed, curmudgeon-y, middle-aged woman who is just so angry and tired with the world. At first, this film is just a riotous comedy where her character is so over the top and is just confronting different people around her town. Nearly anything anybody says causes interruption. Some of her dialogue is just absolutely hilarious and so clever that you can't help but to at least admire her wit. Any scene taken in isolation, I think it was really well done. I love the performances across the board. Like, it's not just Marion Jean-Baptiste for me. I thought Michelle Austin was excellent. David Weber was excellent here. He just has such deep pain in his silence, communicated just through his eyes. Flawless cast, flawless delivery of the dialogue. The structure here was much more free than like a typical screenplay that follows through like 3 acts. And so I do think this one, unlike some of Mike Leigh's other films, has the potential to lose some people in a little bit of its formlessness. And whatever it wants you to take away, I think is very subtle. I gotta say that even though I was into the movie, I did not end up liking it because I just felt like I could not see the point here. My rub is that it gives us this character who is just so deeply in pain and hurting others, but then there's no healing. And maybe my expectations were just miscalibrated here, but when I see someone who's like really in pain, just wound up, and like, especially when it's about a family, I want to see them cohere by the end, or at least like heal in some way. And this film doesn't give you that. It was so unexpected. I guess that worked for some people. Reading the reviews, I am coming around to seeing how some people did get a lot out of this, but you know, that was just a big rub for me, and I couldn't really get over it. When the movie ended, I was very surprised that that was the whole thing. I was also surprised that so many of the later chapters of this film are near silent. It allows some really interesting work from its actors, but there's so much that is in the air and so much about these characters' backgrounds that is either thinly sketched or completely unsaid. I think there's lots of potential for a film to be interesting for what it does not tell the audience. And during the Q&A of this film with Mike Leigh, it was clear that he wanted to leave it very open-ended for people to discuss and fill in some of the blanks. To me, I think this just hit the limit of how little you can give an audience in order for them to take away much at all from your film. I feel that knowing what a starting point for this family may have once looked like could have helped, especially the central relationship between her and her husband. Were they ever a thriving, happy marriage? There is so little description of him that piecing together the movie didn't do much for me. I think it's really about piecing together the character and whether the film gives you enough little pieces that you can create a portrait of her. And she was so abrasive and prickly and depressed and sick, like deeply mentally ill, that the film just did not offer enough pieces to reconstruct that person. And so that's, I think, why I'm not satisfied here. I don't know if some people are giving the film slack and just saying, oh, well, it makes sense why she would be like that or why she'd be upset. But the level, like the extent that she is upset with the world doesn't seem to make sense. And her character doesn't feel realistic to me in that way. Like, I would love to get deeper into her and understand why she's so damaged. But I don't recognize this person. Like, I know that sometimes people are not pleasant to be around, or that they have outbursts and they just make life like not fun. But I have a hard time imagining that somebody has that problem to this extent where you can't even say anything to them without them like eviscerating you. If the character was scaled back a little bit, I think you could have gotten all the points across that you wanted to, and it would have made complete sense. And maybe I could have even seen how this person has some like redeeming or likable qualities, but you don't really get that here. Though I think the film does want to challenge the audience in how far we're willing to go to love somebody unconditionally. And I do commend the film for doing that, I think successfully. Like, I do feel a lot of empathy for this person. Another problem I had was we're supposed to laugh at the scenes when she's like eviscerating people, and they are often funny, but this happens so often that I was just starting to feel like it's just sad. Maybe other people were like, no, it's just like a really good it's really a funny comedy, and it's always funny when she does it. But I was sort of like, we need to see something else here, and it's just hard to watch. But I think we did see something else, and I think
eventually, but it took a long time.
I think the film recognized that it was becoming sadder to watch this.
Sure, but I think for people who liked it more, it was like a revelation that we were going to get to see another side to her, and I was like, I know there's a deep sadness here. It's obvious.
I feel like the movie reveals like that there is this deep sadness and then just doesn't go further with it. I don't want it to sound like my fundamental problem is a film that is not giving me answers. I actually really like when a film gives me a very complicated portrait of somebody and just kind of leaves me hanging on. But I come away with a really fully formed understanding of them as a human being. And I think this movie is just only halfway there.
I will say that even though I thought the character was unrealistic in some ways, Marianne Jean-Baptiste sold every minute of it. And I liked that she seemed to always play seriousness of what she was saying, even when it was funny.
Marianne Jean-Baptiste's performance is like a tour de force, I think. I just feel like this character is gassed by the end of the movie. He's just completely exhausted. It's really amazing work from her and from the cast in general.
Yeah,
even down to small performances like those who are sitting in a barber chair for one scene. That's just that Mike Leigh magic where everybody's just on fire. I did think there were a couple scenes with the nieces that felt weirdly out of place and didn't really go anywhere. There were definitely enough strengths where I liked the movie, and I admire its ambition in how little it leaves you with, even though I think it was far too little. So overall, I would give the movie a 6 out of 10.
I'm surprised that I was out of sync with a lot of people for this one, and I'd be willing to give it another shot. I definitely admire a lot of what you just said about it, but ultimately my dissatisfaction is going to lead me to giving this 5 out of 10.
I do think that it's possible Marianne Jean-Baptiste gets Best Actress nominated for this film. She will probably get BAFTA. I think she'll miss the SAG. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people felt unsatisfied by this movie, especially the ending is a bit perplexing.
That's the hard part for her in terms of getting nominated, is that people might feel like the film kind of isolated them in the end. It's unquestionably a huge performance, so she's doing a lot. She's got some amazing scenes in here.
The audience was eating her up.
Yeah, and considering actually putting her in.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you know of any easy truths?